You are sitting with a childhood friend. You are reminiscing about the past. You bring up a specific story. You remember it perfectly. You were 8 years old. You were at a theme park. You dropped your ice cream on the pavement, and a giant dog ran up and ate it. You can see the dog. You can feel the heat of the sun on your skin. You can vividly recall the bright, artificial color of the melting ice cream. You can hear the sounds of the roller coasters in the distance. But your friend looks at you, confused. They tell you that never happened. They tell you it was not a dog, it was a seagull. And it was not you who dropped the ice cream. It was them. You argue. You are certain. You can literally see the memory playing in your head, like a high-definition movie. You feel the emotional sting of losing the ice cream. How could you possibly be wrong when the memory feels so incredibly real? Because your brain is lying to you. Your entire past, everything you think makes you who you are, is not a permanent record. It is not a video file stored on a hard drive in your skull. The real answer is far stranger. Every time you remember something, you are actually rewriting it. Welcome to the terrifying science of false memories. We like to think of human memory as a steel filing cabinet. You experience something in the real world, you put it in a neat little folder, and you lock it away in the dark. When you want to remember it, you just pull the folder out. You read the document. It stays exactly the same as the day you filed it. This is completely, fundamentally wrong. Memory is not a filing cabinet. Memory is a shattered puzzle. And every time you try to recall an event, your brain has to scramble to put the puzzle back together from scratch. The pieces of your past are scattered all over your cerebral cortex. The visual details are stored in the occipital lobe at the back of your head. The emotional feelings are wrapped up in your amygdala. The sounds are sitting in your auditory cortex. When you remember the theme park, there is no single theme park file. Instead, your brain frantically sends electrical signals across billions of neurons to gather those isolated pieces and reconstruct the scene in real time. But here is the scary part. If a piece is missing, your brain does not just leave a blank space. It hates blank spaces. Your brain automatically fills in the gaps. It hallucinates details that make logical sense to complete the picture. It borrows pieces from other memories. It borrows things you saw in movies. It borrows stories other people told you. It stitches them all together, smooths out the edges with a wave of neurochemicals, and presents it to you as absolute, unquestionable truth. A cognitive psychologist named Elizabeth Loftus spent her entire career exposing this terrifying flaw in human hardware. In the 1970s, Loftus conducted a landmark experiment that shattered the legal and scientific understanding of memory. She showed groups of people a video of a car crash. It was just a simple, mundane traffic accident. Afterwards, she asked them to estimate how fast the cars were going. But she changed one tiny thing. She changed the verbs she used when asking the question. For some people, she asked, how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other? For others, she asked, how fast were the cars going when they hit each other? The results changed everything we knew about the human mind. The people who heard the violent word smashed estimated the cars were going significantly faster. The simple choice of a word had actively altered their calculation of the past, but the experiment went much deeper than that. Weeks later, Loftus brought the same participants back into the lab. She asked them a simple question. Do you remember seeing any broken glass in the video? There was no broken glass in the original video, none at all. But a massive percentage of the people who heard the word smashed vividly remembered seeing shattered glass all over the road. Just by changing one single word, Loftus had successfully implanted a permanent, highly detailed false memory into their brains. They were not lying. They truly believed they saw it. Your memory is fundamentally fragile. It is highly suggestible. But it is not just susceptible to minor tweaks. What if your brain can fabricate entirely massive events that never happened at all? What if highly emotional, deeply significant memories are completely fake? Consider how you remember a national tragedy. Think about where you were during a major historical event. Psychologists call these flashbulb memories. They feel like a camera flash went off in your brain, burning the exact details of the moment into your neurons forever. In 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded on live television. The very next day, a psychologist named Ulrich Neser asked his college students to write down exactly where they were, who they were with, and what they were doing when they heard the news. He collected their answers and locked them away. Almost 3 years later, Neser tracked down the same students. He asked them the exact same questions. Every single student was incredibly confident in their memory. They felt the emotion of the day. They could see the room they were sitting in. But when Nader compared their new answers to the handwritten accounts they gave the day after the explosion, the results were devastating. Only a quarter of the students remembered the event accurately. Most of them had completely changed major details. Some of them confidently told stories that contradicted their own handwritten notes entirely. When Nader showed one student her original paper, she stared at it in disbelief. She recognized her own handwriting, but she said, "I know that is my handwriting, but that is not what happened." Her brain had so thoroughly rewritten the memory over 3 years that she trusted the fake simulation in her head more than the physical evidence written by her own hand. But surely, you think, your brain would never invent something deeply personal. It might get a car crash wrong, it might confuse where you were on a Tuesday, but it would never invent a memory about your own actions, right? Wrong. Another researcher, Dr. Julia Shaw, decided to push this vulnerability to the absolute extreme. She did not just want to alter minor details of a car crash. She wanted to convince normal, healthy people that they had committed a serious, violent crime. She brought college students into her lab. She told them she had spoken to their parents. She presented them with a few true, verifiable details from their actual childhood to build trust. Then, she seamlessly wove in a complete and utter lie. She told them that when they were teenagers, they had committed an assault with a weapon, and the police had been called. At first, the students flatly denied it. They had absolutely no memory of it, because it never happened. But Dr. Shaw used specific psychological techniques. She asked them to close their eyes and try hard to remember. She asked them to visualize the scene. She applied gentle, repetitive pressure over a few weeks, encouraging them to construct the narrative. By the end of the study, over 70% of the participants did not just agree that it happened. They provided highly specific, multisensory details about the fake crime. They remembered what the police officer looked like. They remembered the color of the weapon. They remembered the intense fear and guilt they felt in the moment. They had generated an entire, vivid, emotionally traumatic reality out of absolutely nothing. This is not just a quirky lab experiment. In the real world, this exact glitch in human memory has destroyed lives. It has sent innocent people to prison. In the 1980s, a man named Ronald Cotton was accused of a horrific crime. The victim, a woman named Jennifer Thompson, was absolutely certain he was the man who attacked her. She had studied her attacker's face. She picked Cotton out of a photo lineup. She pointed at him in a physical lineup. She stood in a courtroom, looked him dead in the eye, and swore under oath that he was the one. Ronald Cotton was sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years. He spent 11 years behind bars for a crime he did not commit. He was only released when advanced DNA testing proved his innocence beyond a shadow of a doubt. The real attacker was a completely different man who looked somewhat similar. But here is the most terrifying part of the Ronald Cotton case. When Jennifer Thompson was told that Cotton was innocent, she could not understand it. Her brain had literally overwritten the face of her actual attacker with the face of Ronald Cotton. Once she picked his photo out of the lineup, her brain used that photo as the new puzzle piece. Every time she recalled the trauma, she pictured Ronald Cotton. Her memory was not a lie. To her, it was the absolute truth. But it was completely, structurally false. The justice system relies heavily on eyewitness testimony. But science is proving that human memory is the least reliable witness in the room. This mass suggestibility can infect entire societies. In the 1980s and 90s, the United States was swept up in something called the Satanic Panic, driven by aggressive leading interrogation techniques by therapists and police. Thousands of people suddenly remembered being part of bizarre, underground cults. They remembered impossible, horrific crimes taking place in daycares and basements. The FBI investigated extensively. They found zero evidence. The entire phenomenon was a massive epidemic of false memories, implanted by societal paranoia and bad psychological practices. You are doing this to yourself right now, on a smaller scale. Every time you tell a story at a party, you exaggerate it just a little bit to make it funnier. You change the pacing. You emphasize your own cleverness. You drop the boring parts. The next time you recall that memory, your brain does not pull up the original event. It pulls up the exaggerated version you told at the party. It uses the lie as the new blueprint. Over years, over decades, you overwrite your own history until the original truth is completely gone. To understand how bizarre this is, you have to look at the biology. A neuroscientist named Karim Nader made a shocking discovery about how memory physically works in the brain. He was studying fear conditioning in rats. Nader discovered a process called reconsolidation. He found that a memory is only stable when it is sitting quietly in your brain, unused. But the exact moment you remember it, the moment you bring that memory back into your conscious mind, it becomes physically unstable. The neural connections literally unlock. The memory becomes vulnerable to being changed, corrupted, or completely erased. To put it simply, the act of remembering something is the exact same biological process as learning it for the first time. Every time you open a file on a computer, you can look at it without changing it. But in your brain, every time you open a memory, you are forced to resave it. And whatever mood you are in today, whatever new information you have learned since then, gets baked into the new save file. Harvard psychologist Daniel Schacter calls this phenomenon the 7 sins of memory. He points out all the ways our brains distort the past. But Schacter also realized something profound. This extreme malleability is not a bug in our operating system. It is not a design flaw. It is actually a crucial evolutionary feature. Why would a highly advanced survival machine build a memory system that constantly lies to itself? Because the ultimate purpose of your memory is not to record the past. The ultimate purpose of your memory is to predict the future. Your ancestors on the ancient savanna did not need a perfect high-definition replay of every single berry they ate or every rock they stepped over. A perfect hard drive of the past is useless for survival. What they needed was a flexible, highly adaptable cognitive system. They needed a system that could take pieces of past experiences, extract the important lessons, and recombine them to simulate new, completely unseen threats. Your memory is inherently creative. It is a simulation engine. Neuroimaging studies show that the exact same neural networks that allow you to remember yesterday are the exact same networks you use to imagine tomorrow. You pull apart old memories to build predictions. You take the shape of a lion you saw once, combine it with the location of a watering hole, and simulate a future danger. If your memory was rigid and locked like a video file, you would not be able to imagine anything new. You would be trapped in a static past. You would be unable to plan. You would be unable to invent. You would be unable to survive. Your memories are fake, so your imagination can be real. This scientific truth completely changes how you should view your own identity. You are not a static collection of historical facts. You are not a strict documentary of events. You are a continuously updating narrative. You are a story in motion. You are the author, the editor, and the audience. All at once, think about the grudges you are holding. You are likely holding on to anger, based on conversations you probably misremember. You are carrying emotional weight from details your brain might have accidentally magnified. You define yourself by failures that were probably not as bad as you think, and by a past that only sort of happened. But this also means you are not chained to it. If your brain is constantly rewriting the story, you have a say in the edits. You can choose which parts of your narrative to emphasize. You can let go of the rigid, stressful certainty that your perspective is the only objective truth. Because objective truth does not exist inside the human brain. You are sitting with a childhood friend. You are reminiscing about the past. You argue over the ice cream and the dog. You feel the urge to fight. You feel the absolute certainty of your own mind. But this time, you stop. You realize it does not matter. The record is flawed. The truth is fluid. And the real answer is far stranger. You just smile and let the memory go.